Welcome back to the Out of the Rough podcast presented by We Know Fantasy. As always, my name is Nate, We Know Fantasy, and joining me as always is my co-host Jake. Jake, how are we doing today?
We're doing good. We're doing good. Nice, relaxing weekend, but ready to get into it.
Yeah, Easter weekend for those who celebrate, but we did have a fantastic tournament, in my opinion, in Houston at the Texas Children's Houston Open. Came down to the wire. I mean, any one of about 12 to 15 names could have won that on Sunday. So it made for good viewing pleasure. I know once again, I finished with a T2 with a 100 to 1 Taylor Moore ticket in hand. Like, it's just getting to the point where it's like just tempting me. It's like, how close can I possibly get without hitting one of these tickets? But that's three close calls, kind of. I mean, Keith Mitchell wasn't really that close, but I mean, at least had a two-hole or two-shot lead on Sunday. But yeah, Taylor Moore. I mean, if there was an event for him to win, it would have been that event. He was spiking around the greens with everything was spiking. We know where he's going to come with a hot putter, and it was the putter that let him down. Like, he very well could have won that tournament if he would have not missed that. What was it, birdie chance within 10 feet, and then he missed another one from short distance as well. But yeah, that's what this is. This is we go through these dry spells. Things are not going to go away, and all of a sudden the dominoes will start falling, and we'll win a few in a row to make up for it. So hopefully we can start here this week as we head to the Valero Texas Open, just a week shy of the Masters. It's great to say that, right,
We're
Jake?
getting there.
Masters is
Yep.
1 week away. Next week, at this point, we'll be talking Masters, and I know for those who follow the podcast, we're going to have a special preview podcast for the Masters. We're going to record that possibly Friday, Saturday, somewhere around there. Just a time for me and Jake to hop on here for however long it goes and just chat lines and all of that, and pretty much just we're geeking out as golf fans, right, Jake? So
Yeah.
just another excuse for us to stare at some golf boards and sports books and go over what could and should happen come this time next week. It's a great time, but that's neither here nor there, as we have the Valero Texas Open this week. DP World Tour, of course, is off this week and next, technically, although Masters is on their schedule. Not many of them will be participating next week. But before we do hop into things, Jake, where people find you on social media?
Yep. You can find me at DJ Freeman on Twitter. I've been posting some stuff all week, including my article that's going to come out tonight. I'm in the middle of writing it. So after I talk to Nate, that's when I usually finish it up and get my final thoughts in there and get it out to everyone. But also join our Discord, completely free to join. Pretty active group in there, especially down the stretch. There were a lot of outright tickets that were open because there were so many guys in the hunt. But active group chat, great group think, great, arguments, debates, healthy debates in that matter for DFS out and outright and just general golf opinions. So a good place to join to just get your opinions out there, get some extra thoughts on what you're thinking, and if that might be a good idea or a bad idea, or even just to feel the market out, right? Like if you want to play a guy in DFS, if a lot of people are like, I like him, that might be a more popular play than we're kind of seeing before the numbers come out. So something you could definitely use to your advantage.
It's a great place to be. We talk about each and every week. It's not a place where we just push our agenda. It's just a chat room, right? It's just a place for people, like-minded people, to get together and talk some golf, and that's all it is. From just chatting while you're watching it, like you said, building your card, DFS, all of that. Just hop in there. You can find the link on our website, on our Twitter. I think if you're listening to this on actually Spotify, I'm not sure why I've never mentioned this before, Jake, but you can find it in the link on our Spotify if you're listening to it there. Sure, with Apple Music or Apple Podcasts, all of that, you can find it there. The only place you can't find the link is on YouTube, but you can find it elsewhere. So check us out there. Be sure to follow myself, Nate, on Twitter at WKF Be sure to follow We Know Fantasy on all forms of social media at We Know Fantasy. Visit WeKnowFantasy.com for some more fantasy sports content. Visit baseball, basketball, football, NASCAR, golf, everything in between. We have you covered. A few highlights on the website, the We Know Fantasy, the Out of the Rough golf betting articles, the really in-depth breakdown of the PGA DP World Tour each and every week. It's called the LPGA Majors. The first LPGA Major is upon us with I think it's a Chevron Championship in approximately a month's time, maybe 3 weeks. So that'll be coming out there. Excited about that. If you're not a fan of the women's side of the game, it's one of those majors is a great place to get into it. They also have some great coverage on the Golf Channel and all of that. So if you're looking for some more golf or some more places to bet, the LPGA is a great place to start there. But that's coming up. Of course, we have these podcasts are referred to the special Masters preview we'll be doing, and we're going to hope to do that for each of the majors this season. Just chat, a few days in advance about some lines since they're going to be out, and even now they're out. But as we get closer, we'll talk about them. The On the We Know Fantasy Podcast Network, the We Know Fantasy NASCAR podcast with Cody and Devin, they do some great work over there. Essentially, what we do here, just in NASCAR format, break down the track, the drivers, their lines, all of that. They make money along the way. They've been doing a great job this season, so hop over it there as well. And yeah, I think that about sums it up. If you haven't, be sure to hop over to YouTube and subscribe to our channel there. I think it's Out of the Rough Pod, all one word, or follow us on social media, and we'll get you that link. Just hit the subscribe over there as well. All right, Jake. Valero, Texas Open here. Finish off this mini Texas swing. Uh, Annually kind of serves as the pre-warm up for the Masters for the last probably 12 years, even more. It's been the final week before the Masters. It's a unique tournament. A lot of times we do see, especially now because the WGC match play is discontinued, as golfers pretty much the top 64 in the world were forced to play in that a week prior, which was the Houston Open slot. But even then, some of the guys who'd come to this tournament to quote unquote practice some swings. They're not really here to compete for a victory or grind it out. They're just here to kind of replicate some stuff they'll see at the Masters and things like that. It's kind of more of a practice feel. So a lot of the bigger names really don't come here to, full guns a blazing and compete. I mean, we have seen like Jordan Spieth do it in 2021 and things like that, but oftentimes it's someone like a Corey Connors who's done this twice and is the defending champion that have come out victorious here. But as I mentioned, the Oaks course at TPC San Antonio. Final slot, if not qualified for the Masters, the final chance to do so. The victor of this will advance to the Masters. So if it's not already qualified, it could be, a pretty life-changing event for someone this week if they are to go ahead and claim victory here and punch their ticket to Augusta next week. Would be a fantastic storyline to follow, nonetheless. Valero has taken over the naming rights in 2002, has been corporate sponsor ever since. And this tournament actually has been going since 1922. So 102 years of this tournament, give or take. Again, mentioned we're going to have a bigger field or a more notable field, I should say, this season than we have in years past, mainly because the WGC match play is discontinued and all these guys getting a final tune-up before the Masters. World number 2, Rory McIlroy, headlines the field this week, joined by, there's a total of 11 of the top 30 in the OWGR. A few names to highlight: we have Brian Harman, Ludwig Aberg, Max Homa, Jordan Spieth, Collin Morikawa, Tommy Fleetwood, and Matt Fitzpatrick. Teaming up along them, of course, it's a pretty impressive field for what we're seeing, a pre-major that is not a signature event. But as I mentioned, a lot of these guys are here just kind of practice some stuff for next week, more or less than grind it out for 4 days. Again, Corey Connors is defending champion. He also won in 2019. Other former winners of this event in this week's field include J.J. Spawn, Charlie Hoffman, Andrew Landry, Jimmy Walker, Martin Laird, and of course Jordan Spieth. So on to the Oaks course at TPC San Antonio. Has been the host of this tournament for the last 13 years, 7,428 yards of a standard par 72. Your standard breakdown of 10 par 4s, 4 par 5s, and 4 par 3s. Course was designed by Greg Norman with a consult from Sergio Garcia. The idea of getting Garcia here was to kind of attract some of the game's bigger names to compete at this event, as it always served as the week prior to the Masters. But what's funny about this is that Sergio himself, even despite being a name and helping design this course, played this event one time in his career before he left the PGA for the Live. So I guess if you want to take that as you will, it's a second shot course. Breakdown that way rewards the top iron players. Essentially, it's essentially a run-of-the-mill PGA course. Nothing really unique about this. There's no unique identity and no defining characteristics. Really, just kind of a TPC event. Essentially, is what it is. Ranks as one of the 10 largest courses on the tour each and every year. Again, finding the fairway, though, in my opinion, is more important than distance. There is no Pinot Rough. There isn't much in terms of deterrence, but all the fairways are rather tree lined, heavily tree lined, and in the not pop bunkers, but the sand bunkers that line this course are oddly shaped and deep. So finding one of them could be trouble in the making. So I find this breakdown more towards accuracy than distance. I mean, of course, it is still a long course, but again, it's made as a second shot course. Greg Norman himself was arguably one of the most, prolific drivers of the ball and is during his time or in the history of golf nonetheless. So of course this is going to be a driver heavy event, a driver heavy course. But again, doing what Greg Norman does and what his courses always line up to be, it's not just a straight bomb and gouge course. It's going to be, not only do you need a bit of distance, but finding the fairways, finding where your ball needs to go more though than just slam it down the fairway. So that's worth noting. Green regulations this week. The Oaks course, what is it? It offers the seventh lowest green regulation percentage on the tour. Um, yeah, the last five events since of any course has hosted at least five events since 2015. The Oaks course ranks seventh toughest for approach shots as well. Bermuda greens this week, they are not challenging within 15 feet, but it actually is one of the toughest courses on tour from putts beyond 15 feet. So those that are strong Bermuda putters, especially from distance, will have an advantage there. Of course, the major line of defense outside of the tree lines, fairways, as well as the bunkers will be the wind. Texas winds, Texas wind gusts are always going to be prevalent no matter what time of year you're playing here. Sometimes, again, we may get lucky and the winds may be idle, but the forecasters really suggest that. Some events, 2019 was all clear and they shot, 20 under, but some years you're grinding it out for 10 under, depending what the winds do. But yeah, as I was writing this, the forecast looks like Saturday up to 18 miles per hour winds, chances of thunderstorms on Sunday. I think Friday has 14 miles per hour, 15 miles per hour. It's going to be, in my opinion, the winds are going to be a factor this week. Um, but yeah, anything else about this course and our event I forgot to mention, Jake, you want to add?
No, I think you covered it well. There is something interesting that I did come across on Twitter that driving accuracy at this course is a little bit of a misleading stat. So credit to Ron Claus. He's a great follow on Twitter, PGA Splits 101. But he said at this event last year, the birdie percentage from the rough was actually higher than the fairway. From the rough, it was 21.3%, and the fairway was 19.9%. So it's one of those things that if you miss the fairway just a little bit, you're still okay. It's those really wayward drives that you're trying to avoid here that get you into those deep bunkers, like you said, into big trouble. So, you could be a little bit wild off the tee, but within limits. So you gotta, driving accuracy is important, obviously, week in and week out, but you can be a little bit more lenient on that stat this week.
I'm not sure about yourself, Jake, but in my model, I use the good drives gain statistic more than just straight up
Yep.
driving accuracy percentage, which does take into account, um, it is not purely hit fairway percentage or something like that. It's a good drive, which I guess per week it's up to interpretation by someone. But yeah, that's a set I use this week more so
Yep.
than just pure accuracy. All right, let's move on to our DFS suggestions. Each and every week, we offer six golfers now for six different monetary categories. Um, we have the 10Ks, the $10,000 plus, the nines, the eights, the sevens, the sixes, and the 5,900 and below, which is a new fun one that DraftKings introduced to us this season. Always great to chat up those times. But we're kicking off here with our big guns. We only have four golfers in this price range this week. Just a few names to pick from. Any of these guys catch your eye, Jake?
I think a lot of people are going to start their cards in the 9K range just because those names are, very comparable to the ones in the 10K range. But I'm going to the bottom of the 10K range here, and I'm going with Colin Morikawa at 10,100. I'm sure you thought for a second that I was going to do Rory McIlroy at 12,300. Don't worry, I wrote him up in my article, so you can read all about him there.
Get in there.
But um, Colin Morikawa, like I said before, it's the good drives gain that I do like from him. He's accurate off the tee. He's not incredibly short off the tee. I'd say he's just about tour average, which is what I like. You're getting an elite ball striker from Colin Morikawa. Incredible with the irons. So those are two really important things. And like Colin Morikawa, he's in contention every single time when he can get those putts to fall. So it really comes down to the putter, but he's going to find himself in the fairway. He's going to hit those great approach shots. We know that's what we're going to get from Colin. I know it's been kind of ugly recent with the T45 at the Players and a miscut at the API. But before that, a pretty solid start to the year. He has never played this event before, so it's going to be the first time he's out there. That does worry me a little bit, but I do think we're going to get a bit of a discounted ownership because I do think that Ludwig Aberg is going to eat up a ton of
Easy.
ownership because he is a beast off the tee. He can get it going with both the flat stick and the irons, and I think he's going to eat up a ton. So I'm pivoting to Morikawa here.
Yeah, I want to talk quick about Aberg just because, I loaded the draft or the price books recently, and Aberg is down to 12 to 1, the second shortest odds in this entire field. Like you said, Colin Morikawa, two-time major winner. You have Jordan Spieth in there. Do what you want about him. I mean, he's still Jordan Spieth at times. You
Yeah.
have Matsuyama. You have names that are below Aberg, who, again, gifted golfer, up and comer, still rather young, and all he does have on his resume is a fall swing event victory. I mean, is it just the fanfare of this guy that's putting him in these elite numbers? Because I'm not going to touch this guy with a 10-foot pole anywhere near 12 to 1, but he's obviously getting bet there because I think he opened at 18. He's down to 12. Like he's getting driven down by someone. I just don't understand. Again, he's going to be fantastic. He's going to have a great career. It's projecting the right direction. I just don't understand it.
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you. In the outright market, it's really hard to touch because, it's not like he's winning at a clip like Scotty
Oh
Scheffler
my
is,
gosh,
and he
yes.
doesn't have the pedigree as he's the second favorite in this event behind Rory McIlroy, who hasn't had a great start to this year, but I would put Rory in a completely different class of player than Aberg. And like you said, there's so many guys behind Aberg that I would even put in a class above him. So something I'm not touching in DFS, I totally see the play. If you want to go Aberg, he's going to be popular. Diversify in your other five spots. I do think he's going to have a great week, but to bet him at 12 to 1, I think is crazy. And this is something that I think Nate and I are definitely going to touch on next week. If he does, he is qualified for the Masters, right?
Yeah, I
With
believe so.
that
Yes.
fall
Yep.
seasons.
Well,
So
on top of that, I think
I
it was
want to,
his Aeon or whatever the thing was.
oh, right. Yeah, so I'm interested to see how his odds shake out for the Masters next week. I'm not exactly sure where they sit at this moment, but the week of, I'm sure the line's going to be much, especially if he plays well this week. So it'll be something that we touch upon on Friday and look more into.
I think it was what he do finished the calendar year top 45 in the OWGR. Whatever that final event was
Yeah.
on the fall swing that put him there. I think that was what got him there post that fall swing win. But yeah, he's going to be there, and it's going to be interesting to watch. But just wanted to add, get your opinion on that because it kind of baffles me what that outright market is doing with Aberg. But moving here to my play, Hideki Matsuyama, 10-6, second most expensive guy here. But you got Rory McIlroy, of course. He's going to draw some ownership, and you have Aberg that's $100 less than Matsuyama. I know what he's doing this season, right? Hideki is he's in some insane form. Kind of quietly one of the hottest guys on tour. I know he has a victory, which is weird to say that he's still quiet. Winning the signature event in the Genesis Invitational and doing so in such demanding fashion, especially that back nine they put together to really steal that
Yeah.
victory away. But man, he's doing some great things beyond that. In his last four events, T22 at the WM Phoenix Open, of course, the victory at the Genesis, but he also placed T6 at the Players in his last outing as well. So he's doing this at a lot of different levels. T15 here last year. Everything you want about Matsuyama. I mean, right now he's tops on tour around the green, the approach play, all of that's going to come with what you get out of Hideki. But the putter really is a big concern, right? And that's what you want to narrow down if you're going to bet Matsuyama. So looking here, what he did at the Genesis, he gained 4.297 strokes on the greens there, and he comes back to the WM Phoenix Open, 1.64 strokes there. Arnold Palmer Invitational, 0.79 strokes there. He did lose strokes at the Players and still placed T9th there. But again, if he is one of those golfers we talk about a lot, just gets in the positive, no matter what type of positive, around even, he's got a chance to win, especially a tournament like the Valero, right? Where the
Yep.
greens aren't that tricky as long as your approach shots dialed to put it within 15 foot. He does what he did at the Genesis in that final round. I mean, he's going to put this ball lights out and run away this event, in my opinion. So absolutely love him. I hammered him in the outright market as well, 22 to 1, and my favorite play this week. And again, ownership, I'm not sure what to think about this. Again, you made the mention a lot of people may opt out of the tens to the nines. You have Aberg right around him, Roy McIlroy. So you have two of you know, the more sexy names, I guess you could say, in the sport with Rory and Aberg around Matsuyama, because Matsuyama's game isn't super sexy, right? Unless you're someone like me who just drools over, elite iron play and gravitate towards that. But in a casual sports fan setting, you want to watch Aberg swing the driver. You want to see Rory hit 320 with his driver, right? So we'll see what happens to the ownership there. But again, I'm just in love with Matsuyama this week. Again, a little concerned though with he doesn't really need to be here, right? And he has his eyes on another green jacket. Is he going to be fully involved here? Again, I don't know because his last season was so bad with the back injury. If he's still just trying to make sure he's in the right mindset, the right form, opposed to trying to get, you know, I guess fancy or funny with it, right? So I'm hoping he's all gears ahead here and he gets across the finish line for me this week.
Yeah, and I mean, we've had injury reports on Matsuyama, I feel like every single time he's teed up this year. So that could also draw people away from him, lingering neck issue, lingering this issue. And, you see him tee up and you're like, WTF, dude, you're placing T20,
Yes,
T10, T5, winning. Like, these injury reports, like he is like there is something that's bothering him. I just don't know how much it is. So for an ownership perspective, you hope that a report comes out that, oh, Matsuyama's neck is bothering him or his back needs a massage or whatever, so
point.
that some names, some people are like, you know what, let me just steer clear in case he withdraws. Because like you said, Masters coming up. If that back is tweaked even a little bit mid rounds, like why is he pushing himself? So it is a risk reward situation, but his numbers this season have been absolutely insane. On approach, he's been incredible. Off the tee, he's been incredible. Around the green, he's been incredible. You covered him really well there, and I think he's going to have a really good week if he can stay healthy, which, he's been managing to do all year. So why not?
Yeah, a lot of great points there. You can hope that, he ends up like with one of those questionable marks, like in fantasy football, right? Where guys,
Yeah,
whoa, put the brakes, he's injured again. And, it's just going to be one of those things every week. Machuama is going to have some kind of
yeah,
injury designation next to him that helps drive that ownership number. But again, you mentioned it. If he's not going to be 100%, why is he playing this week with the Masters that he has a
right.
legitimate shot at winning another green jacket? He's done it once. Why is he going to, go here and risk that with the Valero Texas Open? So,
Yeah, and also, Corey Connors has won this event twice, and Corey Connors is a god-awful putter. So
yes.
why not Matsuyama? Like there's bad putters can win this tournament. That's what this tells me. So, that's another reason to hop on the Matsuyama train.
All right, let's move on to the 9,000s. I know you mentioned this already with what could possibly be some discrepancy here. I'll lead it off here with that name. It's Jordan Spieth at 9,500. The form is nowhere to be found. Back-to-back missed cuts coming this week. He has looked absolutely lost on the golf course. His bits of success came early this season with a third at the Century, I think D6 at the WFX Open. But yeah, prior to that, again, missed back-to-back cuts, and his last made cut was a T30 at the API. Um, it's the approach numbers this year, right?
Yeah.
He's lost with his irons. We're expecting at least a top 50 out of approach numbers from Jordan Spieth. It's not there. It's what 129 out of the approach. So my argument here is this is, again, this is another thing. I mean, Jordan Spieth won here in 21, but another thing, he needs to get right for the Masters, and we know what he can do at Augusta, right? Even if he's in bad form, this is Augusta is a place that Jordan can absolutely pop. So I think he's here this week to try to catch some form, or he desperately needs to. Again, this golf course should suit him. Good off the tee, strong approach play with a great around the green numbers, and the putter, like you said, he can find itself here at this golf course. Again, this is kind of what Augusta is, right? But anyways, I feel like this is a great bounce back spot for Jordan Spieth. And if you're, any form of, someone who doesn't really look into this and just kind of punches numbers, looks at, recent form, you're going to steer clear away from Jordan Spieth, which I think is your argument here, because he just looks absolutely lost. But again, he's a world class player, a top 10, 50. I don't know where he's at in the OWGR right now, but he's still an elite player. And I think he just desperately needs a bounce back spot here. And I don't know where he's at in this point of his career. With we talked about this Justin Thomas all last year. He's too good of a golfer to be in this form, and it lasted an entire season. So I may just be preaching this Tom Blue in the face again. That again, bounce back, bounce back, bounce back. This is a bounce back spot where it may not come this season. But again, I think this is a familiar place. He's won here relatively recently in 21, not that long ago. Again, all hopes are ownership will be very limited and that he can put some things together to get himself ready for Augusta next week.
Yeah, I could see that argument of a good bounce back spot because where does Jordan play his best golf? It's in Texas, and that's exactly where we are this week. But I said that to myself after the players. I said, look, let me find Jordan Spieth with a good bounce back at the Valspar. Um, wait, sorry, the Valspar is not in Texas,
That's
right?
in Florida.
Right, sorry. So completely wrong. Scratch that. But he had a really bad Valspar. So it's one of those that I was looking for him to bounce back after the
Yeah.
players with the approach and the around the green. He lost in both of those categories, which is completely uncharacteristic of Jordan. And he had the same negative approach numbers at the Valspar, and he lost around the green. So he just seems a little bit lost in form. And like you said, this could be a spot where some of these guys might not take this tournament so seriously, and they might just try to, play around with some of their form and their shots and their iron play. Like, I think that this is a place that Jordan does feel comfortable. And if he is in contention, he is going to go for the win in the state of Texas. We know that about him. But it could be a spot where if it's not clicking right away, on Thursday, he might hit some funky looking iron shots or change some things on the course mid round to try to get ready for the Masters because it only takes one good shot to get these guys into some form. Seeing the exact flight path you want or what you saw in your head happened, it only takes one shot to get these guys into form because they're professionals. And I think that's kind of the angle I'm going with Jordan this week. It's kind of been lost, and I don't know if he's going to find it right away on Thursday for him to really be in a spot to contend. But to play devil's advocate, if he is playing good golf to start on Thursday, watch out because Jordan in Texas is a scary thing.
Yeah, great argument there. And like you said, it may be if he does find form, it may be late Saturday, right? Or if he makes the cut, barely across the cut line, and then fires a final good round on Sunday. But even if that is the case, I'm not suggesting an outright play here. I'm suggesting a DFS play at a good ownership.
Yeah.
So I guess it's logistically speaking, it may not be the best play. You can probably find a lot better options in this price range, but I'm hanging my hat on Jordan Spieth finding some form in the state of Texas.
Yeah, no, and I can't fault you for that. But moving into my 9K range, I'm going with Max Homa at 9,900. He is one of my favorite golfers. This should come to no surprise if you've listened to the pod before. But Max Homa had a really disappointing Players Championship where I think a decent amount of people had their eye on him. I don't know if they clicked off on bets on him, but it's one of those that, all right, Max is coming up at a big tournament. Let's see if he could finally perform. And he laid another egg. So a T64 at the Players. I think Max is motivated to prove the haters wrong. He's going to try to perform at a major event this year and contend. And I think that the Masters is a really good spot for Homa. And I think he's at this event to try to get that right. So, what's been going right for Homa this year and what's been going wrong? He's gained on his approach in like his last 15 starts. So, it's not the approach. Some have been teetering around even, but he's been gaining. So, it's been good there. The putter we know comes with Homa every single week. He lost in 2 of his last 15 per se tournaments. So, the putter's there. The driving has really been there too. So Max has had some good starts. He also has a win at the Nedbank on the DP World Tour, but um, going into that shorter form history, he's lost on the off the tee in 4 of his last 5 starts. So I think that this is a place where he's going to try to clean up that driver a bit, so that way he can contend next week at the Masters. And like I said before, to lead off this pod was the driving accuracy is not the end all be all here. It's if you miss the fairway by a little bit, you could still make it work. It's all about the second shot here, in my opinion. So, even if that driver is struggling a little bit, I think that Max is going to find himself in enough spots to make enough birdies here to contend and win.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to see it, right? He's another one of those names that kind of just drifts away at parts of the PGA Tour schedule. You know, again, like we talked about Jordan Spieth in Texas, if we put Max home in California, sure, we may see some, a littering of top tens, especially if there's, we thought the same thing right now at his home course at LACC, but that didn't work out for him at the U.S. Open. But yeah, I mean, one of those good guys of golf, right? We want to see him succeed. We want to see him competitive at a major, and maybe this is the year. This is it. Like you mentioned, it everything really is there except the driver. So we can hope that. What's good about this course too, especially if you're trying to find some form, is you're going to use driver more often than you're not in this course, right? There's not going to be any dog leg layup. You're going to use your driver. So if you can find it early and keep it rolling, you're going to keep going. I think Max can do that this week. I think the ownership's going to be going to be in your favor because of if you're at 9-9, Colin Morikawa's name's a little more sexier than Max Holmes right now, just $200 more. This 9K range, you can go really any direction here with a lot of the names, Brian Harmon's of the world, the Matt Fitzpatrick's, all of those guys can be found here. So, yeah, I would love it. Again, in the same sense of what we're doing with Jordan Spieth, we're hoping for a bounce back, right? We need to get right for Max Homa, and like you said, everything is there. And everything is there. I think it'd be easier to find your driver than it is for, say, Jordan Spieth to find your approach play. So,
Yeah.
I guess both of us were just kind of hanging on some decent ownership and hoping our respective golfers get it going this week.
Yep.
All right, rolling down to the 8K price range. A price range I'm pretty fond of this week, honestly. I'm not sure how you feel about it. There's a lot of great options here, in my opinion. Um, so yeah, Jake, you kick this one off.
Yeah, I love every single golfer in this price range except for Ricky Fowler. So I
Yeah,
really do not think that you can go wrong. If you want to play a pivot spot, you can go with Ricky Fowler. I do think he's going to be extremely low owned, and he does have some pretty good form at this event with a T17 in both 2019 and 2021 and a T10 in 2023. But someone who I think is a better play here is going to be Adam Scott at 8,500. Adam Scott had a really good start to the year between the PGA Tour and the DP World Tour. And it kind of tapered off a little bit. He missed the cut at the API and then came T45 at the Players. But before that, his worst finish was a T20 in 8 consecutive starts. So the form was really there. And what I loved about Adam Scott was he was popping in a various,
yep,
array of different areas. So the putter would gain over a stroke per round, then the approach would gain over a stroke per round. So if he can kind of pair those two things up with the spike week with both the putter and the approach, we know that Adam Scott is pretty good off the tee. He's not the most accurate, but like I said, not the end all be all this week. And he is a little bit longer than tour average. So if he can kind of spike with the approach and the putter, I mean, I think that he could very well contend and win this tournament this week. The recent form says otherwise. But also back in 2010, he did win this tournament. So another thing to kind of think about when going down the Adam Scott route.
yeah, you never go wrong with Adam Scott. You mentioned it. He's popped in, my models on various different types of courses this season as well. And he made a reference there of popping in certain stats. And like I said, he's had a good start to the season on both, maybe not the PGA, but the DP as well. So yeah, I mean, he's well versed. He's been around for a while, played at least all of these golf courses. We see him multiple times in his career. So never a bad shot there. Especially you're always going to find Adam Scott in the 8K range, right? No matter what tournament it is, kind of a mainstay here. And if you're looking for stability, and I always talk about this. The 8K range is kind of a hard one because it's kind of where they put the overperforming 7K guys and the underperforming 9K guys. There really is like no reason for golfers to be an 8K again, unless you're like an Adam Scott who is just kind of one of those guys, consistent, just always there. And kind of rolling my play here with Alex Noren, same thing, right? What to do with Alex Noren? You can't put him at 7-8, 7-9, and you can't put him at 9 or 9-1. So why not here at 8-7? A fantastic Sunday last week, put him to a T11 in Houston. I was on him in outright last week. I couldn't get to the number this week. I think he opened at 40-1. I just wasn't about that, especially at this golf course. You need some distance a little bit. And Alex Noren doesn't really offer that for you. So the same thing in Houston. He did just fine. But I just don't think it's in the card for back-to-back weeks for someone like Alex Noren to be competitive. The DFS nature, I think this is a great play for him. Rather consistent. He crosses all the boxes. Doesn't do anything extremely well. I mean, good drives. He's always going to be there. Um, good drives. He's a good putter, good sand saves. He's also seventh in par five scoring, 29th off the tee. Just a very well-rounded game. But what he does lack is the ability to like pour in birdies, right? 119th in opportunities gained, birdie or better percentage. So if it does get to a decent weather week and golfers are getting to 20 under, he's just not going to be able to keep up with them. But if we're in a grind fest, a scramble fest at 12 under, 11 under, he'll be there and he'll place rather high for you at 8-7. Not a super sexy name. I think his ownership may be a little bit higher, especially what he's done, especially last week and what he's done in recent months here, or excuse me, weeks. Um, T19th at Players, T9th at Cognizant, also placed T15th here a season ago. But in the DFS aspect, I like Alex Noren a lot, but I have to mention Billy Horschel here at 8-9. Absolutely love him on the outright market. I do prefer Alex Noren on the DFS, but if you need to pivot here, out or Billy Horschel, absolutely love him this week. Hasn't really played this course a lot, hasn't had a ton of success. 2018 at T11th. But again, he's seventh on tour in bogey avoidance, 18th in good drives, 22nd in strokes gained putting Bermuda, 39th off the tee, 58th in approach. Again, another well-rounded game here out of Billy Horschel, who came in a better number in the DFS market and has the ability to pop much better than someone like Alex Noren does. He can get those birdies in a hurry. opposed to someone like Alex Noren. So I just want to mention there of those two and how DFS can be a different monster. You may think someone has a chance to win, but you prefer someone else on DFS just because of the stability and kind of the surefire thing that Alex Noren can present to you, opposed to a Billy Horschel. Because Billy Horschel will come out here and just shoot +7 the first day and get you out of it, but you're going to expect Alex Noren to at least make a cut.
Yeah, 100%. You hammered it well. I think Billy Horschel was the most popular name I saw on Twitter this morning for the outright market. But I do think that Alex Noren is going to pick up more ownership in DFS. So like pretty much exactly as you said. Obviously, if Billy Horschel goes out and wins a tournament, he's going to play
Yes.
well in DFS, right? But it's more of a safe play. Like you said, Noren is one of those grinded out guys. And like you said at the beginning with the weather, if you're expecting the winds to be high like we are, Alex Noren is going to be a staple here. He played really well last week and it grinded out in Texas. So I see a lot of people pivoting over to him.
All right, on to our 7K price range. I'm gonna kick it off here with Aaron Rye, 7,800. If we're looking for approach numbers, it's what we're getting out of Aaron Rye. Going to avoid those bogeys. He gains off the tee across the season. The distance isn't going to be there, but when it comes to good drives, he's second on tour in good drives gained. So there's that going for him, of course. A decent around the green game, and again, we talk about this all the time when it comes to these super strong approach players. Is the putter, right? 137th in strokes gained putting. But last week he gained 3.718 strokes putting, which I do love to see. So hopefully, this isn't like the WM Phoenix Open where he gained this. This was just a week ago in the same state on the same type of greens where he gained nearly 4 strokes, so nearly a stroke per round. If that can transfer here over and on top of was it a T7th last week in Houston? I think it was. Yeah, T7th last week in
Yep.
Houston. If he can roll that putter over, he has a chance. And again, when you have a course like this, a second shot course, it doesn't really matter the distance thing, but good drives. He's second on tour in good drives, along with elite iron play. If that putter rolls over, look out because Aaron Wright has a real chance to take down this golf course. And I had a mention on Twitter that you know that I may favor approach play more than I should in my models just because the names of like Aaron Ryan, Alex Noren pop more than they should, right? But this is what you want. I mean, when you go to a golf course, what type of shots are you using the most of? It's always going to be approach. You can only hit the
Yep.
driver so often. You should only hopefully putt a few times. You shouldn't have ideally you don't have any around the green work, right? So the approach is what drives a golf course, and it goes to show the top golfers in the world are elite in the approach. Scotty Scheffler, #1, Xander Schauffele, Rory McIlroy, Patrick Cantlay. All of these guys are elite on the approach game because that's where the majority of your golf shots come from. So I make a mention of that. And again, if we're going to look at a golf course that you need to have good drives along with an elite iron play, Aaron Rye's your guy.
Yeah, no, that's the other guy I wrote up in this section. In 2022, he had a T29. 2023, he had a
Yep.
T28. So, making cuts here, which for DFS is really important. Gets you to the weekend, gets you those scoring points. He had a T7 last week, like you said. And if the wins pick up, he's a great win player. So I really like that call out in the 7K range. But this should also come as absolutely no surprise, especially after the week he had last week. I'm going back to the well with Akshay Bhatia at 7,700. My God, was he freaking close, and I wanted him to do it. He wasn't on my outright betting card. My DraftKings lineups were shot at that point, even though I had him in there. But oh my God, I loved what I saw from him. He was extremely accurate off the tee. He wasn't driving the ball too far, but the accuracy made up for it a ton. The approach play was damn near elite. It was Scotty Scheffler-esque. He was gaining almost 2 strokes per round on the approach, which is what we love to see. He was gaining with the putter. And like we said, you mentioned it in the Discord, I mentioned it on the podcast. We knew by hole 3 that Akshay was going to have an Akshay week, right? A T11 finish. He's been consistent with that. Um, but just playing super well. And last year he made the cut, finished T45. One of those things that he could build off. The form was 100% there last week. If he could roll that over and double down this week, well, he's very live to win and have a good week this week.
Yeah, it was that whole out eagle that
Yep.
really I was like, yeah, this is an Akshay week. This is it. And Yeah, I don't, you know, of course, not the biggest fan of belly putters, but if it works for you right, it's not super fun to watch. But
Yep.
as long as it works for you, but yeah, actually, is another guy that you just love to see on the leaderboard. Like even if you're have someone else there on a betting card, you're like, if it's not last week, if it's not Taylor Moore, I want to see Akshay do it, right? Just one of those exciting figures of golf, and as you mentioned it, by hole three what week it is, and it was early on that we noticed it was going to be an Akshay week, and sure enough, um, had a great finish there. So
Yep.
all right, rolling on to now the 6K price range. Who we leading off here with, Jake?
Yeah, I'm gonna go towards the bottom here. I'm gonna go to Nasty Nate Lashley at
Who?
6,200. Two good weeks in a row. I mean, the players he finished T13th, and last week he finished T21. So I liked what I was seeing in the recent form. He missed his four cuts before that, so pretty disastrous. But he does have spike performances. At the Farmers back in January, he had a T3. At the Worldwide Technology, at the end of last year, he had a T10. So this is a low 6K range guy that can get you top 10 placement points, which is huge. He missed the cut three times here, including last year, but back in 2022, he had a T18. So it's a high risk, high reward play at the bottom of the 6K range. With Nate Lashley, you know you're going to get an accurate driver of the golf ball. You're going to get a great approach player. It'll come down to the distance off the tee per se and the putting. So the putting's been kind of lackluster around even, but he was in the green last time we saw him last week, and the approach numbers have been insane. At the players, he gained over 2 strokes per round on approach, which is just awesome, obviously. And just under a stroke per round last week at the Texas Children's Houston Open. So I like the form he's coming in with. I like the game that he brings this week, and I like the ceiling that he also brings. The floor, not so much, but at 6,200, I'm looking at the ceiling.
Yeah, this is the guy that played the final round of the players with Scotty Scheffler, right?
Yep.
So that just goes to show where he was at that tournament. But yeah, he's always one of these guys. Always offers great value in this price range. Always is going to be around here. I mean, he's one of the on the PGA Tour. I think it was a Puerto Rico Open that he did that at. But again, any golf tournament you're going to win the PGA Tour is a difficult golf course or golf tournament to win. So always great value with Nate Lashley. You mentioned just the spike performances, and not only he's not going to just like barely get you over the cut line. He has a chance for a top 10, a top 15, a top 20 performance. Again, you put that with a 6,200 price tag, get you that point, man. That's automatically going to propel you to the top of your leaderboards. Hopefully, the rest of your lineup follows suit because my luck is Nate Lashley with a T5, and then say
Speed
Machuama
miscut.
miscut. Yeah, like
Right.
it doesn't add up. But yeah, that's that. But I'm gonna go with Rio Histuna here at 6,600. I've been playing him a lot, especially in DFS. Just the consistency, what he brings to the table. He plays T33 as last out of the Valspar, but prior to that, T18 in Puerto Rico, T11 in American Express, to a few of his performances this season. But I do like about him, he's currently 10th on tour in strokes gained putting Bermuda. So he's really going at it on these Bermuda greens. Of course, 26 in good drive, 30 or 29th in birdie or better. So gets those birdies when you need them. 31st around the green, 45th in bogey avoidance, or 59th in approach. So, I mean, he does leave a bit to be desired off the tee, can get a little erratic there, 125th off the tee, but the good drives does make up for that number, in my opinion. So that off the tee number probably is distance more so than being erratic. But again, just one of those great values you can constantly find down here. And again, he was a very, very talented player on the DP World Tour last season. He has a victory there. And, Japanese golf is just buzzing right now, right? Kaita, what is it,
Nakajima. Yep.
Nakajima won last week on the DP World Tour. We saw Rikuya Hashio win at the Qatar Masters. Of course, Hideki won this season. So, and Rio himself won last year on the DP World Tour as well. So, why not add to another celebration of Japanese golf here with, maybe Histune 121 ticket here cashing at the Valero Texas Open. But yeah, that's my play there. I mean, I can talk about a few guys here in the 6K range, but we'll keep moving here to the 5,900 and below price range. Um, yeah, and I guess I'll kick this one off. You talked about your 6K guy, right? Yeah, Nate Lashley. So
Yep.
my play here, I'm gonna go with let's go Nico Echevarria, right? 5,600. Again, another guy that's won the DP World Tour, but it was a Puerto Rico. It was Puerto Rico when he did that 2 years ago. But nonetheless, man, he comes this week with missing the cut in his last two events, but prior to that, rattled off three straight top 25 performances. That was a Mexico Open, Cognizant Classic, and Puerto Rico Open. He placed T28th here a season ago. Currently fourth on tour in sand save. So if he does find himself in trouble, he's able to convert from there. He's also 28th in strokes gained putting Bermuda, 36th in bogey avoidance, 37th in birdie or better, and good drives gained. The approach numbers are really not there whatsoever. But again, we're in the 5K range. Like, no one here is going to be absolutely perfect. You just got to find
Yep.
someone that, again, this is a guy who had three top 25 performances in the PGA Tour back to back to back not that long ago. The approach numbers I wish were a little bit better, but again, no one hears me perfect. We're looking for a guy to get across the cut line. And if he does that, he's also a top, what is it, 40 guy when it comes to birdie or better percentage. So if he does get across that cut line, the extra birdie points he can offer to you are going to be massive. So not only can he get across the cut line and just remain idle there, then he has a shot to then pour some birdies and get you extra bonus points Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah, I like the shout out. I didn't really look too much into him, but those three top 25 finishes in a row are something that you like to see. And something that I look at for a guy, off of a couple miscuts is he losing in the same category consistently? Because is that thing just messed up for him and he needs to start over? And that's not the case for Nico. I mean, he lost on the approach at the Players. And then he went even the next week at the Valspar and he lost a ton around the green. So it's one of those that he's just got to line his game up a little bit. And he can get back to that T25 performance. Whereas, if he's lost on approach in his last 15 starts, you
Yes.
know, he's screwed. Like he has to go through a full revamp. So I do kind of like the signs that I'm seeing from him there. But I'm going to go into a little bit of a scary pick here at 5,600. I'm going with U.S. captain Zach Johnson.
Ooh.
A similar kind of idea to you. He had a T25 at the American Express and a T21 at the Cognizant, so has played some okay golf this year. What are you getting with Zach Johnson? You know that you're going to get a good putter. You know you're going to get an accurate driver of the golf ball. And similar to you, the approach play is just kind of crappy for Zach Johnson, but it's one of those that he loses either a lot or he gets to even. So if he can get that in some order, that would be good to see. He also won this tournament back to back in 2008, 2009, and he has some spike performances as of recent, which is interesting to me, even in his older age. T13 in 2022, solo fifth in 2018. So he can spike here, is what I like to see, and some okay form this year. So kind of plug your nose and hope that he can hit some iron shots this week for you.
Yeah, that's about it, right? And who would have thought that Zach Johnson at 5,600 would be a value player we're talking about at this point of 2024. But here we are, and this is what this new price range. I'm having a lot of fun down here because
Yeah.
it used to be the 6K, you'd have like the 6,900, 6,800, and that's basically where the value stopped because they would try to plug all these 5K guys now, in 6K to 6.6. But now with this new price range, it makes for a lot more unique builds. You can get a lot more creative at the top and double up with some, if we get to a major where you want to double up with some big guns, it allows you to get creative and play someone at 5,400. Again, at the Masters, if you're at the 5,400, it's be a more notable name than the guys we're throwing out there. But nonetheless, it does make for a more creative lineup build. But that's it for our DraftKings, or that was a DraftKings pricing by our DFS plays of the week. Let's move on to our betting card here, Jake. We have three categories to talk about. Of course, our overall favorite. You can place one bet. What would that bet be? We have our personal favorite, maybe someone we're on the community's out of, someone with some great value, kind of a mid-tier play, for example, there. And then our long shot, self-explanatory, our longest odds we're on this week. So, Jake, you got one bet to place this week. Who we betting and why?
Yeah, I couldn't help myself but go to Max Homa at 25-1, covered him in the DFX section, but if he can get that driver into some good form, everything else is there for him to win.
Yeah, I'm staying that same price with Matsuyama at 22-1. Again, we mentioned the injury concern, but if he's playing this week, there's a reason he's playing this week, and I think he's getting himself prepped and roaring, ready to compete for a second green jacket. So that's my play there. Who's your personal favorite play of the week?
Yep, my personal favorite play is going to be Akshay, which it all should come as no surprise. Covered him in the DFS section, but just saw too much to like from him last week to not go back to him this week at 60.
Yeah, I would say Billy Horschel here at 45-1, but with the way he is being hammered on Twitter,
Yeah.
it's kind of hard to expect anything out of him this week. So Let's go with Byung Hun Yan at 33 to 1. Someone we didn't talk about when it came to DFS. I mean, I haven't read of my article, but man, it was hard to want to find some like mid tier value in my opinion this week in this field.
Yeah.
But what he brings, I mean, he brings what you want, and he's had some great success here. He placed T6 here a season ago and T7th in 2019. He did miss the cut in his last out of the players, but prior to that, T8th of the API, T21 of the Cognizant Classic, and T16 of the set of the Genesis. So two big tournaments there with two top 20 performances or 21 performances. You know, he can get a birdies in a hurry, second in birdie or better percentage. Um, Beyond that, we know what we're getting. We're getting a good approach player. He's going to get some. He's going to gain off the tee. He's a halfway decent putter. You know, about even there when it comes to Bermuda. Good out of the sand. Good with the birdie or better, as I mentioned that. Good on the par five. So a pretty well-rounded golfer who is good in the right spots that we need this week. So at 33 to 1, I think was a bad value and a name I don't see a ton of this week. So I do like to see that as well. And who's your long shot of the week here, Jake?
Yep, just covered him. Nate Lashley, 150 to 1. One of those that um, the win equity, questionable, right? But it's been a year of just WTF. Peter Malnati's won. So why not Nate Lashley at 150 to 1? And I like his game around here. So what better year or time to shoot your shot on a guy you like?
I got two this week. I'm going with Rio Histune at 120 to 1. Talked about him, but I'm actually going to Max Gracerman at 220 to 1. What we saw last week was phenomenal out of Gracerman. I mean, this guy's only played 7 or 8 events on the PGA Tour, and beyond what he's done, T7th last week in Houston. He's also T17th in par fives, 19th in strokes gained putting Bermuda in the field this week, or on the tour, excuse me. 43rd in approach, 45th in bogey avoidance, 51st around the green. I mean, he's made the cut in 4 consecutive events on the PGA Tour as well. So another name in the 6K price range I didn't mention there, but 220 to 1. I think he's down to like 170 now. But probably 150 at the point of this podcast. But another name that was on last week. I'm pretty excited about for the future of Gracerman as well. All right, Jake. Before we do hop off here, I know we made the joke that we don't have a DP tour event. We're gonna have some extra time to talk about it. And of course, we're probably pushing an hour at this point, and that's just what we do when we get some free time. We just can't stop talking golf. But I just wanted to I did mention later this week we're going to have a Masters preview podcast. Of course, we have our normal podcast next week. But is there anything currently on the books or any future you have in place that for the Masters that you want to just talk up real quick?
Let me pull up my DraftKings pricing odds. This is not a free
I
advertisement to them. So if they want to come to us,
was going
they
to say yes.
can.
DraftKings, our DMs are open.
Yes, completely open. But while I pull that out, one person I 100% have in my mind, mentioned it earlier, Max Homa. I think I saw him at like 55 to 1.
Ooh,
It's one of those names that everyone is going to be completely scared off of because he has not performed in a major. But that being said, I think that this is his time now. He's playing, good golf. He was playing good golf last year. He's been, he has the game to compete. It just hasn't been there for him. So it's one of those names that I'm totally looking into. And if he has a good week this week, he's going to jump down to 35, 30 to 1. So I'm contemplating putting that in now. It looks like he's down to 40 to 1 already. So I might have already missed my opportunity on that. But I do have one future in actually, and it is on Minwoo Lee at 80 to 1 to win the Masters.
okay, right now
Um,
55 right now.
yeah, so a little bit of value there. I would have liked for him to be in a little bit of better form. That being said, I knew I wasn't getting better than 80, and I think that Minwoo is an extremely talented golfer that if he is down the stretch at a major, that he has the heart and the mindset to win, which is, even some of the top guys, you can't say that. So I think Minwoo Lee at 80 to 1 was a good bet. At 55, I'd maybe hold out to
Yes.
see if the market adjusts.
Yeah, Max Homa down to 50 to 1 on FanDuel. So that's still a fantastic value,
Yeah.
with guys like Cameron Young, Bryson DeChambeau, Jason Day, Shane Lowry ahead of him. So Tony Finau even ahead of him at 44, someone like that. I mean, just looking at some names here, of course, Scotty's open at 4.3 or not. Yeah, 4.3 of Rory 11, John Rahm at 13, Brooks at 2. I have 3 futures I placed, and I did a podcast with Soft Sports Bets back in the fall. Basically, what we did, we just picked 3 different golfers per uh, tournament, and I just placed my Masters one. I didn't place anyone, but I have Brooks at 18 to 1, which is at 20 to 1. It is he's probably going to be 14 by the time this thing tees off with whatever.
Yep.
I have Will Zalatoris at 44 to 1. I'm not sure where he's at right now. It's
He's at like
probably
22
yeah.
what was he?
Well,
Oh, he's
recent
at
form.
28.
Okay, still.
Yeah, no, I would have if I saw that at 44. I'm kicking myself.
And then I got Phil Mickelson at 135. He's at 160. Just because Augusta is a replicated course. Like Tiger Woods won here in what was that? 19, 18,
Yeah, I think it was 2019.
somewhere
Let me
around there.
check
But
there.
yeah, still, it's just a course that you don't have to be the most overpowering guy. You don't have to be the youngest guy on the golf course to win it. Augusta. If you know what you're doing and can place your ball where it needs to be on this golf course, you're gonna have success. And I figured, Phil did it last year with what, a T second or third or whatever he
Yeah,
did
he
last year.
climbed. Yeah.
So like I just figured at 135, why not? He's at 160 right now. But yeah, this is what this podcast is going to be on Sunday or Friday. We're just going to hop on here and literally just go down the board, talk some guys. But I just figured we'd throw a few names in here real quick. I mean, you got someone I don't even know.
I got one more to throw out there
All
that
right,
I think we are going to be on the same page of who in their right mind is betting freaking more Rory McIlroy at 10 to 1 at a course that he has not figured out in his entire career at 10 to
20
1.
years.
That is a stupid number. If Rory was 50 to 1, maybe I would even consider it. But if I saw him at 35, I'm still passing. I think he has no win equity at the Masters here.
What about Aberg at 27 to 1?
It's stupid. I mean,
Like,
but I would argue that Aberg has a better chance of winning the Masters than Rory McIlroy. We could
yes,
clip that. We
yes.
could put that as our first TikTok video. We could do something like that. But I think that Ludwig Aberg has more win equity at the Masters than Rory McIlroy this year.
All right, I'm gonna throw that up on Twitter and see what the polls say. But yeah,
Yep.
one more name I'm really intrigued of, and I think has some great value is Patrick Cantlay at 28 to 1. Like
Yep.
he's had many good finishes here. I know it's not going to be the golf world will probably burn down if Patrick Cantlay is the Masters champion this year. Imagine what we'd have for dinner, to look forward to next year if Patrick Cantlay. It'd probably be the most boring thing in the world. But yeah, I know. I'll save that. I was going to ask you what your Masters dinner would be, but I'll save that for the Masters
Yep.
podcast. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself.
Some
So that'll
teasers.
be something we'll talk about maybe probably on the actual week uh, podcast. But yeah, just some stuff to talk about. I mean, it's too exciting not to just talk the Masters, right? I think we can probably sit here till midnight tonight. That's 5 hours from now, and just be like,
Yep.
hey, did you see so and so at
What do
two
you think
hundred
about this
twenty to
guy?
one? Like we could do
Right.
this forever, and that's just some exciting stuff to look forward to. As I said, we're gonna hope to do this for all the majors. It's just kind of a preview, sit down, hang out, chat with you guys. Maybe even someday in the future, if I knew how to be too tech savvy, we can get like a live stream going and just have some Discord guys hop in and talk or whatever. But for now, we'll just do this podcast format. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. I still don't even know how to edit a video. So, um, but yeah, Jake, anything else? Masters, Valero, Texas Open, anything you want to add before we hop off here?
No, I'm gonna save all of my thoughts for our show on Friday. I was literally about to list another name, and you said we could probably go till midnight, and I was just rolling through, and I'm like, yeah, we definitely can. So I'm gonna save my thoughts on the Masters for Friday. So be sure to tune into that. You can follow me at DJ Friedman on Twitter. I'll post my article there, my outright betting card, my matchup plays for this week at the Valero. If I place any Masters futures between now and our show on Friday. Those will also be posted as well on my Twitter. Be sure to join our Discord, completely free to join. We'll be talking a lot of Valero Open, a lot of Masters coming up. It's going to be a really valuable week to be in there. Completely free to join, even if you just want to join for the Masters. I know that there's some people who just care about the PGA majors and want to make a DraftKings lineup or put in a couple of outrights just for the majors. What better time to join a free Discord than now? So definitely be sure to do that. You could find a link to the Discord on our Twitters or in our articles.
I want to plug the out of the rough one and done as well. I haven't really been good job plugging that except on Twitter. But again, that's free to play. And with the Masters coming up, I know I included the players in the quote unquote majors, but there's only five of them. So if you haven't played this one and done all season, you can still get in here. You hit a Masters winner, and then you hit another winner, something like that. You're going to propel yourself up the rankings real quick. And we have prizes too. There's three. There's the overall, signature events, and master or the majors winner. So a great time to join there. Be sure to follow myself, Nate, on Twitter at WKFNate. Be sure to follow We Know Fantasy on all forms of social media at We Know Fantasy. Visit WeKnowFantasy.com for some more fantasy sports content. And be sure to follow us Out of the Rough Pod on YouTube. So until next time, guys, we'll see you.